Never go to the farm, Kate. Promise me. Those words, spoken with rare intensity, were one of the few requests my husband, Michael, ever made in our 24 years together. I always honored his wishes, even when curiosity pricked at me whenever his childhood in Minnesota came up. If you're listening to this, please like the video, subscribe, and drop a comment about where you're tuning in from. But now Michael was gone, taken suddenly by a heart attack no one saw coming. At 52, I was a widow, left with a bitter daughter and a hollow space where certainty used to be. 2 weeks after the funeral, I sat in the dark-paneled office of Michael's attorney, Mr. Harris. His calm voice pulled me from my thoughts. "There's one more item," he said, sliding a small box across the desk. Inside was a brass key on a maple leaf keychain and a sealed envelope with my name in Michael's careful handwriting. My chest tightened. "Your husband purchased a property in Minnesota 3 years ago," Mr. Harris explained. "He asked that you be told only after his passing. The deed is now in your name, taxes prepaid for 5 years. I blinked at him. "Property?" Michael never mentioned anything like that. Harris nodded. "Maple Creek Farm. It was his childhood home. He bought it back after it had changed hands several times. Recently, oil was found in the region. Energy companies made offers, but he refused." I tore open the envelope, my hands trembling. "My dearest Kate," the letter began. "If you're reading this, I've left too soon. The farm is yours now. I've spent the last 3 years turning it into something beautiful for you. I release you from your promise. Please visit, at least once. In the desk is a laptop. Password, the day we met, plus your maiden name. I love you, Kat. Always, Michael." Tears blurred the page as I pressed it to my chest. "I need to see this place," I whispered. Mr. Harris hesitated. "His brothers have contested the will. They claim he wasn't of sound mind when he repurchased the farm. With the land's new value, it could get messy." I tucked the key into my pocket, a wave of determination rising. "I'm going today." 48 hours later, after rushed flights and a long drive, I stood before the iron gates of Maple Creek Farm. Rolling hills, golden maples, and a grand farmhouse stretched out before me. This wasn't some broken place, it was an estate. My pulse hammered as I turned the key and stepped into Michael's secret world. The house opened into a soaring great room with a stone fireplace. But what stole my breath weren't the walls or beams, it was the art. Everywhere, paintings, sculptures, and photos of horses. My passion. My obsession. Michael had built a gallery to my greatest love. On a desk by the window sat a silver laptop, a single red rose resting across it. Then I heard tires crunching on the gravel. A black SUV pulled in behind my rental. 3 tall men climbed out, Michael's brothers. They carried the same strong jawline, the same dark hair. Their grim expressions told me they weren't here to welcome me. My hands shook as I shut and locked the door. The oldest knocked, sharp and firm. "Mrs. Carter, we know you're in there. We should talk." His voice carried the same northern lilt Michael had when he was tired. I backed away, my heart pounding. Michael's warnings about his family had always been vague but urgent. Now, with his brothers on the porch, I finally understood why. They weren't here for me. They were here for the land that had suddenly become valuable. My eyes drifted to the laptop on the desk. If answers existed, they'd be inside, not on the porch with those men. Ignoring the pounding, I entered the password, 05151998 Carter. The screen lit up with a folder labeled for Kate. Inside were hundreds of video files, each dated, starting the day after the funeral and stretching a year ahead. My hands shook as I opened the first. Michael's face filled the screen, vibrant and healthy, not the weary man I'd buried. He gave me that crooked grin. "Hey, Kat. If you're watching, I'm gone, and you came to the farm, just like I knew you would." He chuckled softly. "I made a video for every day of your first year without me, 1 year of company, 1 year of truths I should have shared." He leaned closer. 3 years ago, doctors diagnosed me with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. They said 2 to 5 years. I couldn't tell you or Jenna. I wanted our last years full of life, not death. My chest burned with anger and grief. He had made choices for me, denied me the chance to say goodbye knowingly. "I know you're angry," he said, almost reading my mind. But it came from love, not deceit. Outside, the brothers conferred, waving papers. Michael's voice hardened. What they don't know is that I bought this farm legally from our father. He was broke, drowning in bad deals and alcohol. He sold it to me cheap, begged me to keep it secret from them. That's why they're contesting. They think it was theirs. It never was. He went on. I rebuilt this place for you, Kat. Every trip, every hour I could spare, I poured into these walls. You wanted horses, land of your own. Now you have it. In the desk is a blue folder with every document proving this farm is yours. Don't let them take it. A police cruiser rolled up the drive, lights flashing. The brothers looked satisfied. Michael's voice softened. In the stables you'll find 6 horses, breeds you always admired. The staff will care for them, whether you stay or not. They're my last gift to you. The screen froze on his smile. The knocking returned, more official this time. Mrs. Carter, police. Please open the door. My phone rang. It was Jenna. Her voice was sharp. Mom, why didn't you tell me about Dad's farm or the oil? His brothers called me, offered a settlement if I back them. What's happening? My heart clenched. They had already gone after my daughter. Jenna, don't sign anything, I said firmly. This isn't about money. It's about what your father wanted. Please trust me. After a pause, she sighed. Fine. But call me back. I promised I would and ended the call. I opened the door. A young officer stood there, flanked by the 3 Carter men. Mrs. Carter, I'm Constable Wilson. These gentlemen have a court order for inspection tied to the estate dispute. I held up the blue folder. Constable, my husband prepared for this. The farm is mine. Robert stepped forward, dismissive. Family property disputes are complicated. My sister-in-law is emotional, confused. I cut him off, steady and cold. I'm neither emotional nor confused. I'm a widow, standing on land that legally belongs to me, facing 3 strangers who just happen to share my husband's DNA. I turned to the officer. Please review these documents before letting anyone on my property. He flipped through the folder, expression unreadable, while the Carter brothers exchanged uneasy looks. For the first time, their confidence cracked. I thought of Michael's video, the secret illness he'd hidden, the farm he'd transformed, the gift he'd left for me and Jenna. Whatever his brothers were plotting, I wasn't about to surrender his final legacy. The officer looked up, his tone changed. Everything seems in order, Mrs. Carter. Clear deed transfer, notarized statements, even certified bank records. He turned to the brothers. Gentlemen, this looks like a civil matter. No grounds for inspection today. Robert's face flushed. This is outrageous. That woman has no right. That woman, I cut in, is Michael Carter's wife. I have every right. They left reluctantly, followed by the officer, and I felt both grief and resolve. My husband had hidden so much, some painful, others breathtaking, but now I had a choice, retreat to my old life or step into this unexpected battle. I closed the door and returned to the laptop. Tomorrow's video waited, another piece of the man I was still discovering. The brothers had lost this round, but their grim faces told me the fight for Maple Creek Farm was far from over. That night, I barely slept in the farmhouse, our farmhouse. My mind churned with revelations, Michael's illness, his brother's greed, and the hundreds of videos waiting. At dawn, I explored the property. The house was a masterpiece, original charm blended with modern comfort. A library filled with first editions of my favorites, a sunroom facing the eastern pastures for morning coffee. But the stables stole my breath. 6 magnificent horses filled spotless stalls, an Andalusian, a Frisian, 2-quarter horses, a thoroughbred, and a gentle Appaloosa that nickered softly when I drew near. Morning, ma'am. A man in his early 60s stepped out of the tack room. I'm Ellis. Your husband hired me to manage the stables. I shook his hand. Kate Carter. Though I suppose you already knew that. He smiled kindly. Mr. Carter spoke of you often. Said you had a gift with horses. My throat tightened. You knew him well? I asked. Ellis hesitated. As well as anyone could. He was here every month, overseeing everything himself. Never left a decision to others. That was Michael, methodical, hands-on. Ellis nodded toward a tall black Frisian. That's midnight. Your husband spent months finding him. Said the horse reminded him of a painting you loved. My heart clenched, the Stubbs painting of a black stallion in a storm. Michael had remembered. I asked quietly, did he ever mention his health? A shadow crossed Ellis's face. Not directly. But these last 6 months, he worked harder, like a man racing a clock. The truth stung, yet explained the urgency I'd noticed in him. The brothers were here yesterday, I said. Ellis's jaw tightened. They've been circling since oil was found nearby. Robert runs an investment firm in Chicago, Alan's a slick lawyer, and David follows them both. They tormented Michael as kids, mocked him for buying the farm, until it became valuable. They'll be back, I muttered. Count on it, Ellis said. But Mr. Carter planned ahead. Always 3 steps ahead. Back in the house, I forced down breakfast before opening the laptop. Michael appeared, seated in the library. Good morning, Kat. I hope you slept well in our new home. Today, I want to show you something special. The camera shifted as he walked down a hall to a locked door. This room is yours alone. The keys in the bedside table, the silver one with the horse engraving. I paused the video, went to the bedroom, and found the key exactly where he'd said. Retracing his steps, I unlocked the door at the end of the east wing, and gasped. A full art studio stretched before me, flooded with northern light, filled with easels, paints, and canvases. Everything a painter could dream of. I hadn't painted in 20 years, setting aside that dream after college to teach, to help support Michael's career, to raise Jenna. And yet, he had remembered. Over the years, painting had gone from a dream, to a memory, to something I thought I'd lost forever. Michael's voice on the laptop pulled me back. You gave up so much for us, Kat. Painting was the first sacrifice. You never complained, but I promised myself I'd give it back to you. Tears blurred my vision as I looked around the studio, the professional supplies, the shelves of art books, the tall windows catching the morning light. There's one more thing, he said. Check the cabinet below the window seat. I crossed to it, opened the hidden compartment, and froze. Inside was an archival box filled with my old paintings, college work I thought long lost during our many moves. Michael had kept them safe all these years. On top lay my final project, a self-portrait of a young woman with eyes full of possibility. Beside it was a note, she's still in there, Kat. I've given you the space. The rest is up to you. I pressed the paper to my chest, overwhelmed. Michael had seen me, truly seen me, even when I'd stopped seeing myself. Then the crunch of tires on gravel shattered the moment. 2 cars pulled up, the Carter brothers' black SUV, and behind it, Jenna's silver Mercedes. My daughter stepped out, confident, already smiling at the uncles she'd never met. My stomach tightened. Whatever fragile peace I'd found dissolved instantly. A text buzzed on my phone, arrived with Uncle Robert. Coming in now. We need to talk. Uncle Robert. They'd known each other less than a day. I slipped Michael's note into my pocket, locked the studio, and braced myself. They entered without knocking, Jenna leading, the brothers following like wolves. Mom, she said, hugging me quickly before looking around, wide-eyed. This place is unbelievable. Why didn't Dad ever tell us? Before I could respond, Robert stepped forward, his tone smooth, his eyes calculating. Kate, I think we got off on the wrong foot yesterday. We were surprised by your arrival, as you were by ours. Alan clutched a leather portfolio, no doubt full of legal documents, while David hovered silently behind them. Jenna, I said, ignoring Robert. We agreed you wouldn't meet them before we talked. She flushed but lifted her chin. They called with a reasonable proposal. I thought I should hear them out. They're my family too. Family you didn't know about until yesterday, I reminded her gently. Only because Dad kept them from us, she shot back. Just like he kept this place secret. Isn't that strange? Robert jumped in smoothly. Ancient history. Families fight, but what matters is moving forward together. Exactly, Jenna agreed. Uncle Robert explained it. This farm's been in the Carter family for generations. Dad only bought it back from Grandpa, but it was meant to be shared among the brothers. We should honor that. I fought the urge to sigh. Less than a day, and already they had her parroting their version. And the sudden interest wouldn't have anything to do with the oil discovery? I asked. Alan opened his portfolio. Mineral rights are just part of the legal picture. We've prepared a fair settlement. 1/3 for you, 1/3 for Jenna, 1/3 split among us. Everyone wins. Robert's hand landed on Jenna's shoulder, almost paternal. She looked at me hopefully. It makes sense, Mom. We don't need this huge place. We could sell, take millions, and Dad's family stays intact. I met Robert's gaze. Your father left this property to me. Not you, not his brothers. Because he wasn't thinking clearly, Robert countered. Anger surged. Michael was sound of mind until the day he died. David finally spoke, voice calm but sharp. Then why the secrecy? Why hide the purchase, the lawyer, the arrangements? Those aren't the actions of a rational man. I thought of the videos, the renovations, the art studio. Every detail had been deliberate, thoughtful, a final gift. Nothing about it hinted at confusion. Mom, Jenna said softly, I know this is hard. Dad left us, left both of us, and now we're learning about all these secrets. But this proposal makes financial sense, Mom. We'd both be set for life. The door opened and Ellis stepped in, his weathered face lined with concern. Everything all right, Mrs. Carter? I saw the cars. The brothers turned, annoyed. Robert's eyes narrowed. This is a family matter. Ellis is my employee, I said firmly. He's welcome here. Actually, Alan cut in smoothly, his employment is among the disputed assets. Ellis didn't flinch. Mr. Carter hired me himself. He made me promise to look after the farm, and his wife, if anything happened to him. Robert waved him off. We'll be reviewing all staff soon enough. I think it's time for you to leave, I said, my voice hard. Then I softened, glancing at my daughter. Except you, Jenna. You're always welcome. You're not even considering their offer? Jenna asked. I'll review any written proposal with my attorney, I answered. But I won't be pressured in my own home. Robert's mask slipped, the businessman showing through. This land is worth tens of millions with the oil. We can do this amicably, or we can make it very difficult. Is that a threat? I asked, steady. A reality check, he corrected. You're a schoolteacher from Minnesota. We have resources you don't. Joshua put you in an impossible position. I thought of the blue folder, the careful records, the videos proving Michael's clear mind, the farm itself, his final gift. My husband knew exactly what he was doing, I said quietly. Now leave. Jenna hesitated, then kissed my cheek. I'll go with them for now. Please, think about it, Mom. I watched her walk out with men her father had avoided his entire life, her posture already reflecting their influence. Ellis waited until their cars disappeared before speaking. Mrs. Carter, there's something you should know, something your husband told me to share only if necessary. Exhausted, I forced myself to focus. What is it? It's about the true extent of this property, and what's hidden here. He gestured toward the stables. We should walk. Some things aren't safe to discuss inside. I followed him past the shining barns to an older, weathered building, untouched, unimproved, almost forgotten. Ellis pulled an iron key from his pocket. Your husband grew cautious after the brothers visited last year. He had this built. He never told me they'd been here. They showed up after hearing about the oil. He was supervising the art studio. They didn't even recognize him. He'd grown a beard during treatment. The word treatment sliced through me. While I'd been teaching high school literature, Michael had been here, ill, yet building me this sanctuary, all while fending off his brothers. Ellis unlocked the barn. Inside was dust, hay, old equipment. But he moved straight to the back, shoved aside bales, and revealed a trapdoor. The workers thought it was a root cellar, he explained, pulling it open. A staircase descended into darkness. After you, Mrs. Carter. Curiosity overrode fear. At the bottom, he flicked a switch, and lights snapped on. A tunnel stretched ahead, leading to a concrete room filled with filing cabinets, a desk, computers, and walls covered in maps. Welcome to Michael's war room, Ellis said, pride in his voice. He gathered everything, about his brothers, their businesses, and the true value of Maple Creek Farm. Pinned to one wall was a detailed survey map of the region. Red marks dotted the land, notes scribbled in Michael's familiar hand. "Joshua knew about the oil?" I whispered. "Not at first," Ellis said. "He bought the farm for you. But when oil turned up on Peterson's land, he hired geologists. They found something bigger. The largest deposit isn't under the eastern acres, where everyone's drilling. It's here, under the rugged western section no one cares about." I stared at the map. Robert hadn't even mentioned that land. "The companies missed it because the formation's deeper, shaped differently," Ellis explained. Michael confirmed it with 3 experts. "Swore them to secrecy. The property is worth far more than anyone knows." He opened a cabinet and pulled out a thick folder. "And that's not all." He documented decades of questionable deals by all 3 brothers. Tax evasion, insider trading, misused client funds. Enough evidence to ruin the Carter brothers if exposed. I flipped through the meticulous files, emails, financial records, sworn statements. Michael's thoroughness was everywhere. "Why gather all this?" I asked. Ellis gestured for me to sit. "He knew they'd come for the farm once he was gone. He wanted you to have leverage." I thought of Robert's smugness, Alan's legal games, their quick success in swaying Jenna. Michael had anticipated almost everything. "Not everything," Ellis said quietly. "He didn't expect them to reach your daughter so fast." The reminder stung. They were feeding her half-truths, wrapping grief with promises of family and wealth. Jenna had always been her father's girl, sharp, analytical, restless. Now she was adrift, easy prey for men who claimed his bloodline. "What do I do?" I whispered. "That depends," Ellis said. "You could sell, farm, oil rights, all of it, and walk away rich, though maybe without your daughter. You could fight legally, using this leverage, but it'll deepen wounds. Or," he leaned back, "or you could think 3 steps ahead. Do what your husband always did. Find the path no one expects." On the desk sat a photograph, Michael as a teenager, beaming beside a chestnut horse. Ellis nodded toward it. Phoenix. His first horse. Brightest part of his childhood, until his brother sold him out of spite. Another piece clicked into place. The 6 horses in the stable weren't just a gift, they were redemption, a reclaiming of what had been stolen. I picked up the photo. "Ellis, does the laptop work down here?" "Of course. Secure Wi-Fi covers the whole property." He made sure of it. "Good. I need to watch the next videos ahead of schedule. Then arrange meetings, for Jenna, alone, away from them. My attorney. And maybe." My eyes swept the wall of evidence. "The oil companies who've made offers." Ellis smiled faintly. "That sounds like a plan he'd approve of." "No," I said, my voice firming. "It's a plan worthy of the man who built all this for me. And I'll need your help." "You have it," Ellis promised. "He gave me this job when no one else would hire an ex-con. He saved my life. I owe him everything. By extension, I owe you." It was another part of Michael I hadn't known, his quiet generosity, his second chances. As we sealed the bunker and stepped back into the morning light, grief loosened its grip. This was more than inheritance. It was partnership, Michael still guiding me. The brothers thought I was just a naive widow. They had no idea. Over the next 2 days, I barely slept. Fueled by determination, I devoured a week of Michael's videos. His voice was steady, almost prophetic. "They'll try to divide and conquer. Robert will play friendly, Alan will bring legal threats, David will observe quietly, and they'll target Jenna. She's their easiest way in." In another video, he walked through the western acres, scrubby, rocky land his brothers had dismissed. "This land looks worthless, Cat. That's why it's perfect. No one looks closely at what seems valueless." Armed with his insight, I arranged to meet Jenna in a small cafe 20 minutes from the farm. Neutral ground, away from her uncles. She arrived late, defensive before she even sat down. "I can't stay long. Uncle Robert's taking me to meet the family attorney." "Uncle Robert," I repeated. "You've grown close in 3 days." "They've been nothing but kind," she snapped. "You treat them like enemies." I sipped my coffee, steady. "Remember that art history class you took?" Perspective changes everything, depending on where you stand. You've only seen their side. I'm asking you to consider another, your father's. Dad's dead, she said sharply, though her voice wavered. And he clearly didn't trust us enough to tell us about this place. I slid a tablet across the table. Actually, he left us something. Videos. Hundreds of them. Messages for after he was gone. Her face went pale. Videos. He knew he was dying, I said softly. Diagnosed 3 years ago with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. He chose not to tell us, to spare us watching him fade. That's impossible. He would have told me, her voice faltered. Watch the video, Jenna. Hear it from him. With trembling hands, she pressed play. Michael's face appeared, healthy and strong, his eyes crinkling with the smile that was so uniquely his. Hello, my brilliant girl, Michael's voice began. If you're watching this, then I'm gone. And knowing you, you're probably angry about the secrets I kept. He chuckled softly. You never liked being left in the dark, even as a toddler. Tears slid down Jenna's cheeks as he continued. I should have told you I was sick, given you time to prepare. But I wanted our last years to feel normal, not overshadowed by illness. I hope someday you'll forgive me. There's more you need to know. When I was 19, my brothers embezzled my share of our father's estate. They used my name on forged documents. When I threatened to expose them, they warned they'd implicate me. I left, changed my name from Jonathan to Michael, and started fresh in Minnesota. I met your mother, built a life, raised you. But my brothers never changed. Whatever they're telling you now, it's lies. They want this farm for greed, and they'll use anyone, including you, to get it. The video froze on his serious face. Jenna whispered, he was protecting us. All this time. I nodded. Your uncles aren't offering family, they're offering manipulation. They see you as their easiest path. Her grief hardened into anger. They've been lying to me. About a lot, I admitted. Yes, the farm is worth millions. But they didn't tell you about the western acres or the deeper oil reserves. Her eyes widened. They're cheating us. Us. I asked softly, hope stirring. Of course. I never left your side, Mom. She looked down, ashamed. I wanted to feel close to Dad. They showed me old photos, stories I'd never heard. I understand, I said, taking her hand. Grief makes us vulnerable. But now we need to be smarter than they are, together. Her expression shifted, so much like her father's it ached. What's the plan? First, we meet my attorney, Joshua's choice, not theirs. Then tomorrow, Western Plains Energy. Because knowledge is leverage. And we know something they don't, exactly where the oil is. I showed her the survey maps. Jenna laughed, surprising us both. Dad always said you were the smartest person he knew. That beneath the quiet teacher was a strategist who could outthink anyone. Did he really? I asked. All the time. And he said the biggest mistake anyone could make was underestimating Kate Carter. As we left the cafe together, I felt the balance shift. The brothers had tried to divide us, but they'd only united us. That evening, we met the attorney Michael had chosen. As I laid out the plan, his professional mask slipped into admiration. Mrs. Carter, he said, your husband told me you'd surprise me with your strategy. He was right. My husband was right about many things, I replied, including my ability to survive him and grow stronger. 3 days later, the Carter brothers arrived at 10 a.m. sharp. Their black SUV rolled up the driveway, followed by a silver Mercedes I didn't recognize, likely their advisor. From the great room window, I watched them approach, no longer in casual clothes but in a tailored suit I'd bought for this meeting. I would not greet them as a widow, but as an equal opponent. They're here, I called to Jenna. She stepped out in a dark blue dress, her father's watch gleaming on her wrist. Ready. Completely, I said, squeezing her hand. Remember, let them talk themselves into a corner first. Ellis appeared. They're set up in the dining room, just as you asked. The doorbell rang. Ellis opened it with quiet formality. Good morning, gentlemen. Mrs. Carter and Miss Jenna are expecting you. They entered with the confidence of men used to controlling rooms, Robert in front, Alan clutching his portfolio, David trailing. Behind them walked a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, radiating corporate authority. Kate, Robert said smoothly. This is Harrison Wells, CEO of Northern Extraction. We thought an industry expert might help us discuss the property's potential. So, they'd brought an oil executive to intimidate me with jargon. Predictable. How thoughtful, I replied with a pleasant smile. The dining room is prepared for our meeting. Shall we? I led them into the dining room, noting how their eyes lingered on every renovation Michael had completed. The table was set with water, coffee, and neat stacks of documents. Professional, deliberate. Please sit, I said. We have much to discuss. Robert's smile widened, mistaking my composure for surrender. We're glad you've reconsidered, especially with Mr. Wells here. Together we can divide the assets in the most advantageous way. Division, I mused, lifting a small remote. That's exactly what I'd like to discuss. A screen dropped from the ceiling, startling them. A detailed map of Maple Creek Farm appeared, showing all 2,200 acres. This is the complete survey, I said. Not just the 800 eastern acres from your proposal. Alan shifted. The western land is undevelopable. We excluded it for simplicity. How considerate, I replied. A click of the remote revealed another overlay, the full geological survey from Michael's war room. The largest oil deposit glowed beneath the supposedly worthless western acres. Wells leaned forward, mask slipping as his interest sharpened. These surveys are unreliable, Robert started, but a new voice cut him off. They've been verified by 3 independent teams. The door opened, and Thomas Reeves, CEO of Western Plains Energy, walked in with my attorney. The brothers stiffened in shock. This, I said smoothly, is a meeting about the true value of Maple Creek. Mr. Reeves has reviewed my husband's complete data. Wells turned on the brothers, furious. You told me you had exclusive rights to negotiate. They don't, my attorney interjected, sliding documents across the table. Mrs. Carter holds clear title to the property and all mineral rights. The papers they showed you are worthless. Robert slammed his hand down. This farm has been in the Carter family for generations. Michael had a moral obligation. Moral obligation? Jenna's voice cut through the room, sharp despite her trembling hand. Like when you stole his inheritance, forged his signature, or threatened to frame him for your crimes? The brothers paled. Wells looked unsettled. Perhaps these will help, my attorney said, handing sealed envelopes around the table. Inside were Michael's carefully kept records, proof of decades of fraud. Alan's face drained as he scanned the pages. These are private family matters, he muttered. On the contrary, I replied, finally taking my seat. They show a pattern of fraud that destroys your credibility. Fraud that continued when you misled Mr. Wells. Silence fell. Their confidence was gone. What do you want? Robert asked, voice flat. I want you off this farm. Stop contesting my ownership. Stop manipulating my daughter. In return, these documents stay private. Wells stood abruptly. My company's involvement has been based on lies. Mrs. Carter, I'll be in touch directly. With a disgusted glance at the brothers, he left. Robert tried to recover. You don't understand extraction costs. The western land is useless. Actually, Reeves interrupted, Western Plains has new technology designed for formations like this. We're prepared to make Mrs. Carter an offer that reflects both the risks and the extraordinary potential. The meeting flipped from their ambush into my counterattack. Across the table, Jenna's slight smile told me everything. Pride, relief, and the knowledge that her father had prepared us for this moment. 2 hours later, the brothers left, defeated, exposed, and bound by the settlement my attorney had ready. The farm's future was secure, just as Michael intended. Not divided, not stolen, but preserved for the family he chose, Jenna and me. As their cars vanished, Ellis stepped beside me. Your husband would be proud. You outmaneuvered them exactly as he believed you would. I watched the dust settle, a strange mix of exhaustion and triumph filling me. Not finished yet, I whispered, thinking of the videos still waiting on Michael's laptop. This was only the first battle, but it was one we'd won, using the weapons he'd left behind and the strength he'd always believed I carried. The weeks after the Carter brothers' defeat blurred together, finalizing settlement papers, negotiating with Western Plains Energy, cataloging all Michael had built at Maple Creek. Jenna stayed, her resentment melting into gratitude for her father's foresight. Each morning we watched one of his videos together, finding comfort in his steady presence. "Did you ever suspect?" Jenna asked one evening as we watched the sun sink over the western hills. "Little things," I admitted. "Updating our wills. The way he memorized our faces at dinner. Taking endless photos. He'd stopped saying, 'someday,' and started doing." "Like buying this farm," Jenna said softly. "Exactly. I thought it was security. Really, it was legacy." Western Plains had been stunned when I laid out my conditions: environmental safeguards, sustainable extraction, a trust for land restoration. They called it unusual. "Then maybe the industry needs unusual," I told them. The oil had waited millions of years, it could wait until we did things right. To my surprise, CEO Thomas Reeves admired the stance. Another piece of Michael's groundwork revealed, he'd prepared even for this. A month after reclaiming my inheritance, I stood in the studio Michael had built, brush in hand for the first time in decades. Sunlight streamed across a half-finished portrait of Midnight, the proud Frisian stallion grazing outside. Ellis had coaxed me back into writing, my muscles stiff but remembering. Slowly, I was reclaiming pieces of myself. "Mom," Jenna said, appearing in the doorway with a laptop. "Today's video is different. It's marked for you alone, month 2, day 15. Titled When Kate Starts Painting Again. He knew you'd come back." I set down my brush, curiosity rising with dread. Alone in the studio, I pressed play. Michael appeared in the unfinished room, only bare walls and light pouring through tall windows. "Hello, my love," he said warmly. "If you're watching this, you found your way back to your art. Back to the passion you set aside for us." Tears blurred my vision as I reached toward the screen. "I've been thinking about legacy," he went on. "Not just wealth or children, but possibility. Enabling those we love to become who they truly are. This farm, the horses, this studio, they're not the inheritance. They're tools. The real inheritance is freedom, Kat. The chance to be fully yourself." I glanced at my canvas, struck by how closely it matched what he described. He had known me better than I knew myself. His face softened. "I have one request. In the closet is a large blank canvas I commissioned. When you're ready, really ready, I hope you'll paint something that captures what this place means. A bridge between my past and your future." The video ended with his familiar smile, the same sign-off I'd come to cherish. For the first time, grief didn't crush me, it lifted, tempered by the promise of possibility. "Until tomorrow, my love." The video ended, and I sat frozen, his words echoing through the studio. Then, on impulse, I opened the closet. There it was, an enormous blank canvas, custom-built for the great room wall. A challenge. A promise. For weeks I sketched, frustrated, trying to capture what Maple Creek truly meant. Nothing worked, until one morning I watched Jenna ride Midnight across the meadow, sunlight flashing off his black coat. Suddenly, the vision came together. The finished painting blended layers of time, the neglected farm Michael had reclaimed, the childhood homestead of his past, and beneath it all, the ancient land. Threaded through these layers rode two figures on horseback, man and woman, faces blurred, both specific and universal. Behind them, a younger rider struck out alone. Ellis helped me hang it in the great room. Jenna studied it, tears in her eyes. "It's him. And you. And me. Legacy," I whispered. "Not what's left behind, what carries forward." That evening, watching the sunset, I felt Michael not as a ghost but a partner still walking beside me. He hadn't just given me security. He'd handed me freedom, the space to reinvent myself. The oil would secure our future. The farm would endure under our care. And I would paint again, creating my own legacy beside his. Winter came to Maple Creek with quiet beauty, snow blanketing fields, smoke curling from the chimney. I stayed, unwilling to leave the home I was finally making mine. Jenna returned to Minneapolis, but our ritual continued. Every morning we watched Michael's videos together over FaceTime, 3 of us, connected across time. One snowy afternoon, his voice guided me again. "The western ridge is stunning at sunrise. If Ellis kept up the snowmobile, take it out. Trust me, it's worth it. I smiled. He still anticipated my steps. Ellis had just mentioned the snowmobile the day before. 6 months had passed since the showdown with the brothers. They had kept their distance, though lawyers occasionally sent routine questions. Western Plains had begun careful drilling on the eastern edge, honoring my conditions for sustainability. Thomas Reeves had become an ally, intrigued by the unusual deal Michael had predicted I'd demand. The phone rang. Jenna. Too early for our daily call. Everything okay? I asked. Her voice was tense. Uncle David showed up. Claimed he wanted to apologize, but he kept asking strange questions about the farm, unusual activity, how often I visit. Mom, it felt like reconnaissance. A chill swept through me. Did you tell him anything? Of course not. But I think they're planning something. I promised to alert Ellis and remind our attorney of the settlement terms. There's more, Jenna added. David said Robert's sick. Heart condition. Surgery soon. He tried to use it, said family should come together in hard times. The same condition that had killed Michael. Had Robert hidden it, just as Michael once had? Be careful, I warned. It could be real, or just another tactic. Jenna sighed. I hate feeling suspicious of every word. It shouldn't be like this. After hanging up, I stood at the window, staring at the snow-covered drive. Too quiet, I thought. The Carter brothers had retreated, but predators don't simply disappear. I called Ellis, relayed Jenna's fears. His voice was steady, firm. We'll be ready, he said. And for the first time since Michael's death, I believed him. Ellis's voice was calm but firm. I'll alert the security team and check the perimeter feeds. Joshua set this up for exactly a moment like this. I'd once thought the hidden cameras and motion sensors excessive. Now, I was grateful. That evening I went to the bunker beneath the barn. Surrounded by maps and files, I searched for guidance. In the bottom drawer of Michael's desk, I found a folder labeled "If they return." Inside were pre-drafted injunctions, contact lists for investigators, and a sealed letter addressed to Robert. A note in Michael's handwriting read, "A last resort. Only deliver if absolutely necessary." I tucked it into my pocket, unsettled by what it might contain. The next morning, Ellis appeared at my door. Visitors. All 3 brothers, and 2 men I don't know. I followed him to the window. At the gate waited their black SUV and a sedan. What do they want? Nothing good, Ellis said. But if you refuse them, they'll escalate. Better to control the encounter. I agreed. Security would stay alert but hidden. Only the main house. I called my attorney, then warned Jenna. Do you want me to fly in? She asked immediately. No. That's likely what they want, both of us isolated here. Stay put. Through the window, I watched their cars crawl up the drive. My hand brushed the sealed letter in my pocket. Before answering the door, I clipped on the digital recorder Michael had left me, disguised as a brooch. Ellis let them in. Robert entered first, thinner than before, skin ashen. Alan and David flanked him. Behind them came a physician with a medical bag and a lawyer with a portfolio. Kate, Robert greeted, his usual force missing. Family always shows up unannounced, I replied evenly. Please, sit. Ellis, coffee for our guests. When we were alone, Robert cleared his throat. I'll be direct. I've been diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, the same condition that took Michael. Without intervention, I have 6 months. With treatment, maybe longer. This is Dr. Harmon, my cardiologist, and Mr. Pearson, my attorney. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully. But why come here? Robert hesitated, then nodded to the doctor. Dr. Harmon folded his hands. Based on our review, your late husband would have been a perfect donor match. Given the markers involved, your daughter may also be compatible. The words slammed into me. You want Jenna tested? Just preliminary blood work, Alan added smoothly. Nothing invasive. And if she matches? My voice was sharp now. Robert leaned forward, his tone almost pleading. We'd hope she might consider a living donation. A partial transplant. Minimal risk. She'd recover quickly. I stared at them in stunned silence. These men had lied, manipulated, tried to steal everything Michael left us, and now they wanted my daughter's body to save Robert's life. Let me understand this correctly, I said finally, forcing my voice to stay steady while the recorder captured every word. After everything, you expect Jenna to risk her health for you? You tried to take this farm from me, tried to turn my daughter against me, and now you're here asking if she'll risk her life to save yours. Robert flinched but kept his composure. I know how it looks, Kate. But we're still family. Blood connects us whether we want it or not. Blood, I echoed, thinking of Michael's warnings, his desperate need to shield Jenna and me from his brothers. You're right. Blood does connect us, but not the way you imagine. I pulled the sealed envelope from my pocket. Robert's eyes widened instantly. Michael left this for you, I said. Only if it ever became absolutely necessary. I think that moment has arrived. The room fell silent as I held the letter just out of reach. Even the doctor shifted uneasily, realizing he'd stepped into something far bigger than a medical consult. Before I hand this over, I continued, let's be perfectly clear. You want my daughter, the same young woman you lied to 6 months ago, to undergo testing and possibly surgery for you. Correct. Alan tried to smooth it over. When you put it that way, yes. Robert's condition is critical. Family matches are the best chance. Why not either of you? I asked sharply. Siblings usually make the closest donors. Dr. Harmon cleared his throat. Both brothers were tested. Neither is compatible. Genetic anomalies. No other relatives? I pressed, watching them carefully. David avoided my gaze, staring at the window. No, Robert answered firmly. I finally placed the letter in his hands. His fingers trembled as he broke the seal. As his eyes moved over the page, color drained from his face. Alan leaned forward, alarmed. Robert? What is it? But Robert kept reading, shaking, until at last he looked up at me transformed, less predator, more haunted man. How long have you known? He asked hoarsely. I only know that Michael left this for you, I said steadily. What exactly does it say? Wordlessly, Robert passed the letter to Alan. Both he and David read over it, their faces shifting from disbelief to horror. This can't be true, Alan muttered. Father would have told us. Would he? Robert gave a bitter laugh. The same father who played us against each other, who lied for sport? My pulse quickened. Someone explain what my husband wrote. Robert exhaled slowly. Michael wasn't our half-brother. He was our full brother. The words hit me like a blow. That doesn't make sense. He told me your father remarried after his mother died in childbirth. That's the lie we all believed, Robert said grimly. But according to this letter, our mother didn't die. She left, walked out when Michael was an infant to escape father's abuse. He erased her by claiming she'd died. Alan's legal voice returned, clipped but shaken. And that's not all. Michael found proof that father had another family. A woman in Saskatoon, 2 children with her, alive, in their 40s now. Robert nodded. Both share our rare blood type. Both are likely matches. And both, according to Michael's research, have no idea they're connected to us. The pieces clicked into place, the weight of truth pressing down like stone. Michael had known. He had left me the weapon to stop them cold. Joshua confirmed their existence, didn't he? Kept their information current, just in case. Robert nodded reluctantly. Yes. He had a private investigator update it every year. So in case one of you ever needed what you're asking of Jenna now, I finished. The irony was staggering. They'd come to ask my daughter, after all their lies and schemes, when 2 blood relatives they'd never even acknowledged might be the answer. David spoke softly, holding the letter now. Joshua only discovered this after his diagnosis. He was already planning the farm for you, but learning about these siblings made him determined to cut ties with our father's secrets. He wanted to build something real. Something rooted in love. Tears stung my eyes. That was my husband, still teaching, even from beyond the grave. So you have other options, I said firmly. 2 siblings who share your markers. Stop there. They're strangers, Robert protested weakly. And whose fault is that? Your father erased them. You treated Joshua as less than you. Now you're facing the cost of those choices. Dr. Harmon cleared his throat. Forgive me, but Mr. Mitchell's condition is worsening. Any potential donor should be contacted quickly. I looked at Robert. Once so intimidating, he seemed smaller now, worn down by illness and truth. I felt no satisfaction in his suffering. Joshua wouldn't have wanted that. The contact information's in the letter? Robert gave a small nod. Then begin there, I told him. Reach out with honesty. Give them the choice. Just as it would be Jenna's choice, if it ever came to that, but not through pressure or deceit. The brothers sat quietly, chastened, their resemblance to Joshua suddenly unmistakable in their fallen expressions. Finally Robert stood, weakly. We'll go. Thank you, for this. When Ellis showed them out, I stayed seated, absorbing what I'd learned. Joshua had known about these siblings but never disturbed their lives. He'd kept that knowledge only as protection for Jenna and me. That evening, snow falling outside, I opened the laptop for the day's video. Joshua appeared, calm, his voice crossing the divide of time. If I've calculated right, today might be the day my brothers play their medical card. They've known about my condition since I was a teen, though they never offered help. I gasped softly at his foresight. If they've come to you or Jenna, then you've given them the letter. I thought of contacting those other siblings, but their lives were full, their families complete. I questioned my right to intrude. Family isn't blood, Kat. It's choice. I chose you and Jenna. I hope those others, if approached, will have the same freedom, to help, or not, without pressure. As his image faded, I felt closure. The brothers had sought to use Jenna like they once used him, but instead they'd been forced to face their father's lies and their own failures. Whether they reached out with honesty was no longer my concern. We were free. Joshua had turned his childhood prison into my sanctuary, his painful past into my hopeful future. Maple Creek Farm was no longer forbidden ground. It was legacy, his and mine together, rooted not in obligation or blood, but in love. Until tomorrow, my love, Joshua said in the video. Until tomorrow, I whispered back, ready now not just to hear his messages, but to shape my own future with the strength he'd left in me. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you've been through something like this, share your story in the comments.